Tell us what you think. In person, over the phone, online. Watch and hear yourself on TV. You tell us, we air it. This is The Local Live.
Good evening, I'm Alina Suriel.
And I'm Mike Witch.
And this is The Local Live.
Because of this week's snow, we had to cancel our promised roundtable talk and call in about Pope Francis. In its place, an encore of our discussion about love and relationships for Valentine's Day.
Here's a sneak peek of what we have for you tonight.
Tom Murphy is the new councilman for the town of Mamaroneck.
Village of Mamaroneck residents respond to Hampshire Country Club's proposal. We have the highlights of the public hearing.
Grilling on a fire pit? 360 American Grill makes it delicious.
Love beer? Halftime is in town.
And for local sports fans, don't miss our Play of the Week.
Let's start with our top stories.
Tom Murphy is the new councilman in the town of Mamaroneck, appointed to replace long-serving Phyllis Whitner, who retired.
I, Thomas A. Murphy.
Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear.
That I will uphold the Constitution of the United States.
And I will uphold the Constitution of the United States.
In a letter published in this week's Loop, former supervisors Valerie O'Keefe and Elaine Price criticized the appointment. Murphy, they say, was discussed and then appointed in secret without public scrutiny, suggesting a violation of open government laws. O'Keefe also complained that adding Murphy to the board creates a majority of board members who do not live in the town's unincorporated area. But two other former supervisors came to Murphy's defense. The zip code shouldn't matter, wrote Dolores Battaglia and Caroline Silverstone. Murphy says that he found O'Keefe's assertion insulting and that he'll make decisions based on what's best for everybody.
I hope to do this job with the best intentions for everybody in the whole community. And what's important is what unites us as a community, not the geographic boundaries that divide us. But I really appreciate you all coming out here tonight. Thank you.
We want to hear your comments. Remember, you can use Twitter to voice your opinion at The Local Live. Last week, we reported on the proposal to build luxury condos on the Hampshire Golf Club property. Let's hear how Village of Mamaroneck residents responded at a public hearing on February 10th.
We believe the subdivision plan is designed to threaten the board and the community so Hampshire can move ahead with the much more lucrative condo development.
I conclude by saying there is no reason for our Board of Trustees, which has much important work to do in a variety of matters, to be tied up in connection with review of appropriate alternatives for developing Hampshire, to take on the responsibility and potential liability of being the lead agency under SECRA at this time.
We're not opposed to potential development at the Hampshire Country Club, but we are vehemently opposed to zoning changes made to facilitate the development of 120 condominiums.
What I'm hearing here is that the board is really going around and giving a wild card to the developer to not submit a complete EIS.
If you change that zone, you ruin the entire LWRP and everything it stands for. Forget clubs, forget boatyards, will be condominiums from wall to wall.
Larchmont Mayor Ann McAndrews will be running for another term. She's joined by incumbent trustees Marlene Colbert and Peter Finelli. There is no competition as they are all running unopposed. The Larchmont Republican Party hasn't nominated a candidate since 2006. Trustee Colbert plans to keep environmental issues at the forefront. And here's more local news as found in the media. On January 29th, hundreds of Patch employees were laid off just 2 weeks after AOL sold its controlling stake in the hyper-local news network to Hale Global, a technology investment firm. This, according to a story in the Mamaroneck Review. Approximately 70% of the staff was eliminated. The Patch will be redesigned to include locally themed content posted by contributors and local businesses. Another local site, the Daily Voice, has struggled to turn a profit and filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection last April. John Hofstetter, a former Democratic Village of Mamaroneck trustee, is quoted in the report saying hyperlocal sites are struggling due to the lack of resources and reporters covering the streets. From the Loop, The Mamaroneck Board of Trustees Monday night rejected a petition from the owners of the Hampshire Club requesting rezoning of the golf course and club property, permitting the development of a 121-unit luxury condominium complex. Developer Tom Nappy has said that he already has presented a second plan that is in compliance with the existing zoning to create 106 luxury single-family homes on the property, but Celia Felcher, president of the Mamaroneck Coastal Environmental Coalition, says that the 106-home subdivision would not be feasible or legal. She cites that most of the property is barely above sea level and would have to be raised significantly to meet current FEMA guidelines. The debate continues. And the Larchmont Ledger includes in their February edition some good places to go celebrate Valentine's Day. 2 local eateries were cited by Morris Gutt, a restaurant consultant and former Restaurant Trade magazine editor, La Reserva in Larchmont, and Andrea's 25 North in Mamaroneck. La Reserva is owned by proprietor Michael Vivolo and his wife Margaret, and they serve Italian classics now for 36 years in a refreshing atmosphere and friendly ambience. And Mr. Gutt also cites a young dynamic partnership team which opened Andrea's 25 North on East Boston Post Road in Mamaroneck, serving signature Italian classics with pizzazz. He says the eye-catching multi-story freestanding building has been totally renovated. And that's it for the local news in the media this week.
Hey guys, you're watching The Local Live. Stay tuned.
Woo!
Yeah.
Welcome to The Local Live, LMC TV's live and interactive news magazine. This week's topic is love. The occasion, of course, is St. Valentine's Day. Be prepared to join the conversation. Call in, tweet in, or email your comments to the numbers and addresses on your screen. They'll appear throughout the show. What's your favorite Valentine's Day story? What's your definition of love? Is Valentine's Day a day of happiness for you, or is it just more stress? With me is my co-anchor on The Local Live, Mike Witch, retired longtime television teacher at Mamaroneck High School, now an adjunct professor of television at Iona College, and a founder of LMC TV. Joining us to discuss what love is and the joys and pitfalls of St. Valentine's Day is Dr. Mark Levy, who's the director of the Larchmont Mamaroneck Counseling Center, which is a nonprofit center that's been serving the Larchmont Mamaroneck community for over 40 years, providing immediate and affordable access to confidential, compassionate, and professional help. Debbie DiGregorio is a coordinator of Westchester singles mixers and speed dating events for Westchester Lock and Key and other companies. She's known across the Hudson Valley as a matchmaker, and she's the co-host of the podcast Love, Life, and Sex with Q and Debbie, soon to be a radio show. The Q in Q and Debbie is her co-host of the podcast Love, Life, and Sex with Q and Debbie, Jose Quinones Jr. Thank you so much for joining us on The Local Live. Valentine's Day is marked universally as a day to celebrate love. But did you know it began with a beheading? One account of the origins of St. Valentine's Day has it that a Roman priest named Valentinus, around the year 269, was imprisoned for performing marriages and aiding Christian couples who were being persecuted under Claudius II. When he tried to convert Claudius, he was beheaded. But before being martyred, he restored the sight of the jailer's daughter who was blind and wrote her a farewell note, signing it, "From your Valentine." So there's more to Valentine's Day than remembering or forgetting to send your loved one a card. Tell us, is Valentine's Day happy for you, or does it just add more stress? And with that, I'm going to let Mike get the first question in.
Well, you just have to keep your head about you for Valentine's Day.
I guess so.
I want to ask, Mark, I've known you for a long time, and as the director of the Community Counseling Center, you've seen and talked with many couples, hundreds of couples. What are some of your observations through the years as it relates to Valentine's Day, perhaps?
Well, I would say I have a few observations. One being the potential for intimacy that the opportunities are there and the steps aren't taken. So if there's one thing I'd want us to discuss tonight is how do we help people take those steps to get out of their safe zone, create some new connections, deeper their current connections. And that's a big thrust of what we like to do in couples therapy, but not just in therapy. How do people do that in general?
But is that an issue that comes up more around Valentine's Day? People are disappointed, too high expectations, not meeting the expectations, feeling like they don't know what to do. Is that an issue that?
Oh, I think expectations are not met throughout the year. I'd say that's the quickest way to say that.
Right.
I think it sometimes brings things into focus, but it's just it's a good time to think about how do we connect more to whoever our partner is. And that has to do with taking small steps of courage. There's a quote that I love from Anais Nin, a 14th century poet, who said, "Life shrinks or expands in proportion to one's courage." So if you ask me my observations over the years, we all as humans could take a tiny bit more courage and then see what happens. And that's a message I would like to get across tonight.
That would seem very, just being practical,
Yep.
hard to do when you're mired in your jobs and your children and your community and your family, the rest of your family, to do something like that.
So you can start with small ways of making sure that you have some connection in your busy daily life. For instance, each night before you go to sleep, check in with your partner. What was your best moment of the day? Big or small? It was whatever it was, eating an apple pie. But take a moment to pause and have the connection with where were you today for a moment? Small things like that. Now that doesn't get into emotional conversation, which of course is riskier. And if we're going to talk about how to do things like that, then we want to talk about setting up safe zones with your partner. Like if I'm going to start embarking on talking about something of emotional importance to me, I want to first make sure that you're in a place to hear it, and might even ask you some very simple dialogue, communication, couples techniques, like, I have something important I want to share. Is this a good time for you? And can you listen to me for 5 minutes and pretend you're in my shoes? Simple things like that, and then express yourself, and at the end say, and now I'd like to listen to what you have to say, if there's anything. Very simple things. Hard to do, but you got to put it out there. Like if I'd say to everybody right now, I would like everyone to think about if you were to take one step of small courage, what would it be right now? What would it be? Ask yourself, and then ask yourself, what's stopping me? And then I always like to throw in some time projection. Imagine we're at the end of our life cycle, and you look back. What was it that stopped me from being a notch more open, being a little more daring in my expressing my feelings? So at home, if you have questions, ask us now. Life, love, relationships, call in. Welcome to the Dr. Mark Levy Show.
Yes, exactly. Why don't we're going to come back to that,
Yeah. Sure.
But why don't we start with you and finding the right person?
Well, it's difficult. I deal with obviously a lot of singles with my dating events, and the people that attend my events are anywhere from 21 to I've had 80-year-olds attend. People that have been married and divorced, and they're tired of the bar scene. They don't want to meet someone in a bar or a club anymore. Even the younger people, that's not what they're looking for. So when they come to my events, everyone there is kind of like-minded. We target single professionals, so they have careers or at least jobs, and they're looking to meet people. I mean, sometimes they go out on several dates. I've had people come back to me and they've been in long-term relationships. I personally haven't met anyone yet that got married or engaged. I've only been doing them about 2 years. However, other people in the corporation have, and that's always a wonderful story to hear. But just them coming together and being around those people, it's definitely helped them a lot. in the Hudson Valley because I do handle Westchester, but up there, there's nothing like this up there. Down here, it's been in Westchester for a while now. So I do hear a lot of positive feedback that now there's a place to go to meet these kinds of people, and we target certain age groups for each event. So we'll do, say, 33 to 45. So, you know, if you're looking for a little bit younger, you're 45, you know, then there's people there 33. So it kind of narrows it down, and they have a lot of fun with the events.
But I love the way that you said you do it, the lock and key, because it seemed like a really nice icebreaker.
Yes, yeah, we were discussing that off air.
Maybe you should explain
what,
what that is.
With the lock and keys, the women wear locks and the gentlemen wear keys, and it's a singles mixer, so it's not structured like the speed dating. So people are shy, they don't know how to approach people, so every time that you unlock, you get another raffle ticket and, of course, another lock or a key. And at the end of the event, we have a ton of sponsors that donate wonderful prizes. And so it's an initiative for them to keep going up to more people. And when they make somewhat of a connection, then they kind of, you know, venture off and they exchange numbers and talk more. So it's a fun thing to do.
Is there any coaching as to what one should be looking for in a partner? Because a lot of it stems, you know, comes from who you select.
Right. Well, Q's great with that. So.
Well, I like to kind of put together what they both said. I love the term safe zones and creating safe energies. But in dating, I find that people have to really feel safe because then their confidence comes out. I find the most attractive thing about a person is their confidence. Their looks really are secondary. But if they have confidence, they create an energy of safety for me, then I want to talk to that person. So based on what he was saying, creating that lock and key says, I'm allowed to talk to you. I feel safe in this environment. Now I could be who I really need to be. And then it opens up a grand opportunity for people to interact and to talk and everything like that. I just found it amusing in a sense, not in a disrespectful way, that when Mark said that about asking your partner how they feel, I found myself trying to do that, but I had to actually do it with one of my exes. I had to do it, and of course I'm saying an ex, but one of my exes I had to do it playing cards.
Sure. And
then because it created a common ground between us. And then as I'm putting the cards down, we're talking, and then all of a sudden she's, okay, well this is how I feel, that's how I feel, and then we get into dialogue. So I love the term safety, and I love what she's saying about confidence. It's all about confidence, and that's what I try, when I coach, I try to get people's confidence up. You know.
Mark, the issues that you raised, are they issues that are in new relationships or long-term relationships? Like, and I don't usually put my life out there, but I can't imagine having a problem. I mean, I've been married a long time. I can't imagine that being an issue.
You would be amazed, even in long-term couples, how there are things that are left unsaid. So even think about your couple, think about all the relationships we've had. Sometimes there's some places that are very hard to go. And we all form patterns of relating. We're kind of instinctually set to create patterns, and that's what we do. Those patterns, when they work, great, keep them. But a lot of us just adopt patterns from our parents' marriage or couples that we've seen like that. And then we find us recreating those patterns. When they work, keep them. When they're not, what I see is too many people just let them ride out, and they will just ride out indefinitely until you say, let me change this. Let me learn a new dance step in my relationship. And it's learning those new dance steps with sense of safety. However you're going to do it, create it. Sometimes it is with talking about something that's important, and it could be something that you've been afraid to discuss. Sometimes it's just creating new ways of bringing playfulness, spontaneity, sexuality back into the couple. So old-term couples have one challenges, new couples, like you'd be finding in your dating, those are all different, completely different set of issues. How do you begin to make yourself vulnerable to somebody else?
Well, let me take this back to Valentine's Day for a minute, which is Valentine's Day a holiday for young people or for those in new relationships or hoping for marriage? And again, I have instructed my husband, do not buy me roses for Valentine's Day. Buy them when they're unexpected and cheaper.
Right. I love it. Spontaneity. Spontaneity, great.
So.
Great point. Great idea.
I think that it really depends on the individual. I mean, when I was younger, you know, you always had to be in a relationship because you wanted those flowers, you wanted that attention. However, you know, becoming older and more mature, I don't, just like you said, I don't want those flowers on Valentine's Day. I look at it personally, like, so what, one day a year you can, you know, buy me flowers or make it like, oh, I love you so much today. No, it should be like that all year. And I'm not talking about flowers and gifts all the time. But if you happen to be out and, oh my gosh, you know what? She would really like those flowers. Then bring them home. Not because I'm mad at you or because it's a Hallmark holiday. But I think that in a new relationship especially, women kind of expect it. And men, you know, I think it's very stressful more for a man because they feel put on the spot. Well, if I take her here for dinner, is it going to be good enough? What are her friends going to say? You know, do we get engaged now because we've been together a long time?
I'm going to interrupt you because we have actually a caller and we have an email. But we're going to take the caller first. Caller, identify yourself and go ahead.
Hi, it's Tom from Amerenik, and I'm wondering how Facebook and other forms of social media have changed the dating landscape.
I would like to interject. Hi, Tom. I notice with a lot of people, even married couples, Facebook, they swear that it's a terrible, terrible thing. When you're putting out there what you're doing, if you're doing something that your partner's going to get mad at and you have to hide it, you're doing something wrong in that relationship. I know a lot of people that have broken up over social media sites. So I think that when, you know, the stuff is going on Facebook, it can either add to it. It goes either way. You know, if you're secure in your relationship or you have a family and you're happy, it's great. But when you're faking it and you're phony and then you're doing this stuff on the side, you know, people see, hey, there's some trouble in paradise. People do air their dirty laundry. So if you have someone that perhaps you dated in the past or a fling or someone that might be interested in you, you're opening the door for them to walk right through. So that's my take on it.
And I think even just things that are misunderstood or misinterpreted that are completely normal, it can lead to problems potentially.
Well, if I may say, that goes with texting and because there's no interjection of emotions, no feelings. So you're basically reading something, and if a person doesn't know how to put the right punctuations, commas, statements, now you're assuming that this is being said this way. I love Nelson Mandela's quote: "Keep your dirty laundry off the air," and that's what I believe about Facebook. It's only used to express what you're doing, a moment, a highlight, a joke, a quote. But your personal business, you should not be on Facebook.
Well, we also have an email, and I'm going to pose this one to you, Jose.
Sure.
Sheila wants to know why some girls feel they need to pretend to be hard to get, act hard to get, not answering texts right away, basically not being themselves in order to get a man interested in them.
Well, first off, the obvious answer is that they don't have any faith in who they are. That's the obvious answer. And so they put into task, let me put this projected personality out there, and then this is who I want you to see. Then if you like me, then then you could find out later on that I've been projecting this imitation or this false front. I find also in dating that the 6-week or the 90-day thing that we talked about in one of our podcasts, the 90-day thing, after the 91st day is when you start seeing the truth about dating, and that this person is not going to open the door for me all the time. This person is not going to buy any flowers. This person is going to, they're going to do things. They're going to not take a shower every day. They're not going to always be hygienic, or they're going to eat with their mouth open. This is what you're going to find out after the 91st day. So that projection thing is really, to me, it's such a waste of time. But that's how people want, because they don't have faith in who they are.
Right.
The package. This is who I am. Period.
Our next question by email is actually for you, Mark. Our writer Linda says, I've heard from psychologists that people get what they project. For instance, if they're insecure about themselves, they tend to get a partner with the same insecurity problems.
I agree.
Is that true? And I'll just say, I always thought you get opposites attract.
You get both. They're kind of, it's hard to make a generalization. I think more important, Linda, is what would help you right now take a step forward in your life? And I want to go back to insecurities and being yourself. People don't realize that we are all more simply human than otherwise. Everybody has some insecurities. But allowing that to stop you moving forward, that's what bothers me year after year when I see people not take steps. That's when I was saying a little bit of courage can sometimes go a long way. I love the idea of dating in any way. Back to the Facebook question, Facebook can be very problematic, but I've seen internet dating help a lot of people who couldn't take that first step. Help them be just confident enough to portray who they want to portray and to make the contacts.
Is that for all age groups or just for younger people?
I think the internet dating is now, it used to be for older people, but I know people in their 20s right through their 70s who have successfully met people. In person is even better, but if that's where you need to start, it's a great tool. But I think not letting insecurities hold you back in life. That would be the point I would want to take away.
I have to agree.
And about great quotes, since it was just recently Martin Luther King, he had a great quote. It said, "I'll stick with love. Hate is too great a burden to carry." Love it.
Right.
Back to Valentine's Day.
Yes.
I do think that everybody pauses for a moment on Valentine's Day. I just think we're inherently, it's all around us. So for those who are in a relationship, take a step. If you're not in a relationship, make connection with someone else. Doesn't have to be romantic love. Call a friend, call a relative, hug somebody. You ask me about observations, not enough hugs do I see in a lifetime. We're wired for hugging. So use Valentine's Day just to take a next step and do something positive like that.
I want to ask a question that's on the lighter side. What should you not do on Valentine's Day? Who wants to take that one first?
Mike?
His list is too long.
No, I don't know.
No,
I
I'm
don't know
kidding.
what not to do.
Or say.
I think not to do nothing.
I would say
want to
they
do
Right.
something.
expect.
Don't take
Expectations.
whoever's in your life for granted.
Yeah.
Don't take them for granted. Use it as a moment to appreciate who you have.
Yeah, I would say don't have too many expectations. Some people, like we had said before, they view it differently. I kind of view it like it's that Hallmark holiday, but then my partner's like, oh, let's go do something. And, so when he heard my response, he was kind of let down a little bit, so just kind of take it as it comes. If you want to do something fun, but expectations follow with disappointment.
That's true. Anyone have a favorite Valentine's Day story?
I think I have one.
Okay, that sounds good.
Well, I am keeping it G. One of my favorite stories is one time I had created this wonderful event, and the person, I expected them to come from work, and I had cooked for them. I had put the flowers out. I had everything done properly. She comes home with her best friend. And I said, oh, but here was my responsibility. I didn't ask. I assumed that this is the way it was going to be. And so what I learned from that was that, this holiday thing, or this what we're supposed to do on this particular day, it's nothing but a fabrication and an illusion, really. If I love a person, I'm going to tell them Monday through Sunday, I love you. And there are going to be days I'm going to say, I don't even want to talk to you.
I still love you, though.
Yes, there will.
I just don't like you.
And there's some say much is an illusion of all that we're doing here. But I love what Picasso said. Love is the greatest refreshment of life. So however we bring love into our lives, guys, let's go for it.
Are you writing a book of quotes?
I was thinking the same thing, a coffee table book.
We have one more email question from Cynthia, who doesn't say what country she's from, but presumably is from a different country. Girls that are forward with guys are bad and not good for girlfriend or wife material. Here, she sees a lot of girls chasing guys. How good or bad is that to be taken seriously in a relationship? Come on, Debbie.
I really think it depends on the individual, and it really comes back to the security that you have with yourself and the confidence. When you're confident, you kind of exude that confidence, and people can pick up on it. I'm very old-fashioned. I'm not one that believes that women should hound men and pursue them. It's 2014. My son comes home and he's upset because girls are asking him out. He's 15, and you know, and he's like, "This isn't the way it's supposed to be. I'm supposed to ask them." But he gets that from me. I don't think that there's anything wrong with it on the outside, looking in. I really just think it's a personal decision. If you're throwing yourself at a man sexually, you're giving off the wrong idea. That's an insecurity. Sure. So of course it's going to be something bad. But if you're also playing very hard to get, really, what are you doing there? You know, so I think that really the main thing is your self-confidence, and that you know who you are and what you have to offer.
What do you think about friends turning their relationship?
But I was going to say, I also think that in this culture, it's very healthy that women are able to step up. I think it's beautiful. And friendships, if you start off a friendship in a relationship, then that's a good thing, as long as you maintain the friendship throughout the relationship. Once it starts turning into, you're supposed to do this and I'm supposed to do that, and I bring home the food, the money, and you take care of this, then all of a sudden it's not a friendship anymore. It's not a co-op. It's a duty-bound arrangement.
I was always told by my husband to stop keeping score.
That's a
We're guilty of that, aren't we?
Great point. Great point.
And everything that we've said today also applies to same-sex couples?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I believe so.
Absolutely.
Nothing different.
I mean, there shouldn't be anything different.
Absolutely.
I think there are some differences, but not for here. In other words, I think, especially with younger gay men, I think some of the dating game has some different rules to it. So I would say it's not exactly the same. There can be more forward in different ways. I think when you go back to a woman throwing herself at a man, I totally agree. It's giving the wrong signal. It's coming not from a good place. And she would want to ask herself, what's that, you know, is this really going to get me what I want?
This sounds like a...
And we have a caller for our discussion on Valentine's Day. Caller, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Hello.
Hi. What's your name?
Julia from Harrison.
Hi, Julia. What's your question?
I was just wondering, I was, listening to the show, and it seems like you are all advocates of Valentine's Day. And I want to be quite honest, I'm not a big fan of Valentine's Day, because I was just wondering, and I guess that's also my question, is how can you actually justify, looking at some of the statistics, that an average annual Valentine's Day spending equals about $13.9 billion? How can you justify spending a lot of money that day when you look at the big picture and, the kind of poverty that exists on, this entire planet? I guess that was my question. What people have to say about that.
Thank you, Julia.
Julia, it's a very good point. Well taken. So, first, I want you to hear we're pro-love and taking steps of courage, not necessarily spending money on Valentine's Day, because the inequality in the world and poverty, your point is very well taken, and it's very deeply appreciated. And I think that, back to something discussed before about men get uptight about, what do I buy my girlfriend, my wife, whoever. They don't realize that it's not the gifts. They get caught up in that. Right. That what they can do that costs no money in terms of creating a spontaneous moment, sharing something, just doing something thoughtful, goes much farther than flowers. And to your caller, I appreciate where your sentiment is coming from, because it means you've got principles and ideas of us not wasting money on things that when they're more important. So I hope you vote.
Yeah, because I think you can always show your appreciation to the ones you love, like every day. You don't have to do something crazy.
Good point. Okay, and we're getting a signal now.
To wrap it up.
Yeah, exactly.
Happy Valentine's Day, and thank you
Happy
for joining us.
And thank you for having us.
I'm Carly Rose, and you are watching The Local Live.
Retired Village of Mamaroneck Superintendent of Recreations, Roseanne Saraceno, is our first Local Live community reporter. Let's welcome Roseanne aboard, and now we'll see her feature on 360 American Grill.
Even though it's snowing outside here in the village of Mamaroneck, we're going to go inside 360 American Grill and warm up and meet the chef and look around the restaurant. 360 American Grill is a restaurant that understands the importance of family. Randy runs the eatery with his sister and his brother-in-law.
My sister and I grew up in the restaurant business, so getting back into it later in life was a natural extension of our career paths. We mostly focus on simple American comfort foods, casual, not too complex, straight ahead, great for families, and just come in and enjoy and get good value.
Even though the cuisine is American food, 360 has another specialty, its very own gluten-free brand of toppings and condiments known as Wicked Naturals.
Wicked Naturals, a company that I had started about 5 or 6 years ago. It's an all-natural, gluten-free, vegetarian, jarred product, and it was really the genesis of me getting back into the restaurant industry. And we feature those products throughout our menu, whether they're dressings or toppings or just served as condiments, and we also sell them by the jar here.
These condiments are an excellent addition of many of 360's own fire-roasted recipes. The chef has installed his own personal fire pit in the kitchen to serve up mouth-watering dishes, such as one of my favorites, the fire pit chicken. So you really do have a fire pit?
We really do have a 6-foot fire pit. It's rotisserie under here as well, and it allows us to do chickens and pork, ham, vegetables are some of our favorite, including salmon, which is really unique, smoky taste. Feel free to come down on Valentine's Day and join us. We've got a great wine menu. We'll be doing a lot of shareable plates for two, for husband and wife, the girlfriend and boyfriend, or even if you want to have a great family dinner with the kids. The future of American Grill is to continue to do what we think is of value, and that is continue to run a family restaurant that's welcoming to families and hopefully encourage little family members to see the benefits of being in a business, being a restaurant, maybe even being a chef. As for future locations, we'll see how this one continues to grow and go. We always joke about 362, 363, and so on.
Sounds wonderful. So we're going to take a little walk outside and look at the front of your restaurant. And thank you so much for being
here.
a part of Local Live.
We appreciate it.
You're welcome. This is Roseanne Saracino signing off for the Local Live.
Thanks, Roseanne, for that report. By the way, you too can be a reporter just like Roseanne. Contact us at the Local Live and we'll tell you how. Last Friday, I was invited to speak to 6th, 7th, and 8th graders at Hommox Middle School. It was Real Work, Schoolwork Day.
Sir, we gather community members, which takes about 6 months or so, to come in and volunteer a morning of their time to speak to the students about what their profession is, how they were inspired to pursue that profession, and just to speak to the kids so the kids can learn more about what's happening within the community.
What I did was I divided the class into a prosecution team, a defense team, and a jury. And I had different kids play witnesses and also play prosecutors and defense attorneys. And we did a mock trial. And they were amazing participants. They came up with ideas I would not have been able to come up with. They did closing arguments. And then they watched the jury deliberate so they could hear what rang true to the jurors and what didn't.
As for my presentation about LMC TV, I gave out brochures and showed a clip of the Local Live. Then I asked a few students how they thought what they were studying at Hommox would help them later in their careers.
Here in Hommox Middle School, they have a great media program, and we write a lot of news stories, so that's going to help me later in life writing other stories for other people.
I think social studies that we're learning here in Hommox can help us with news television, because you have to have knowledge of the world around you and events going on.
I think English helps you with anything you want to be when you grow up, because English can help you with communication, writing skills, and advanced vocabulary that will impress your employer.
Working in a group is really helpful because you can collaborate with your fellow classmates and you learn things about them, and also you have team building skills.
And I think math can help you through your everyday life. You use numbers all the time, and when you grow up, you can use numbers in any job, being a lawyer, being a doctor, anything. And yeah.
People consider today a career day, but it's really not. The real point of the day is exactly what you mentioned, which is I think that every middle school child sits in their math class, English to all their classes, and wonders, what am I doing here? What good is this? What's it for? So if kids came out of the classrooms reporting that what they're doing in school today matters in the future, then that's exactly what we were hoping.
Dr. Weitzman added a big thank you to the parents who recruited all the speakers and organized the entire day. And my thanks to all the students, especially those who weren't shown on camera.
And now it's time for our local sports play of the week.
Ewald here has it. Torrey on his stick. He shoots and he scores! Goal number 2 for James Torrey. The Merrimack leads 2-1 off the post. Got the pass from Ewald and he put it home.
The Local Live's Alina Suriel discovered a village store selling more beer from more places than any other in Westchester. This week, Halftime is in the spotlight.
Hi, I'm Alina here for The Local Live, and you are watching my favorite piece ever. Today we are at Halftime because it's all about beer. Everyone in Mamaroneck has been talking about the arrival of Halftime, a family-owned beer mega shop on Hoyt Avenue.
I come here for a beer called Golden Drac. It's a Belgian beer that I really can't find anywhere. So.
It's gigantic, but it's very nice that they have all of the explanations underneath each one, so it'll give you an idea of what you like and what you don't like.
The shop boasts a selection of ale and lager from around the world, as well as aisles upon aisles of craft beer.
If you're new to craft beer or if you're kind of a connoisseur, our selection is actually the largest selection under one roof in the entire world.
In case the craft beer on their shelves isn't enough for you, there's also the beer cooler to browse.
We keep 50 yards of cooler space here. It's the largest cooler dedicated to beer in the country, probably the world.
In the country?
We do our best to keep as much as we can cold in the coolers here, everything from your big macro stuff, the Bud, the Sams, all the way down to the micro and the international.
While Halftime does have an overwhelming amount of bottled beer, that's by far not their only specialty. An entire aisle dedicated to homebrew supplies ensures that any local artisans can find exactly what they need.
In addition to having the custom-built mill here for milling grains, we will have an in-house resident homebrew expert who will be available to the public 3 days a week. You can come in, kind of pick his brain, regarding recipes, regarding techniques, dry hopping, anything that you're curious about, he'll be available.
But if you have a taste for fresh beer and no time to brew your own, Halftime does have 22 different kinds of beer on tap.
We feature 4 sizes, 16 ounce, half gallon, 2 liter, and gallon fills. Beer is always better when it's fresh. The closer to the source you are, the better tasting the beer is going to be, the fresher the ingredients are.
Halftime loves beer so much that they even host tasting events right here in the store on weekends, bringing the community of Mamaroneck together to drink and be merry.
We want to invite everyone to come on down on Saturday the 15th between 2 and 5 right here in the store. We're going to have a huge tasting event, live music and food as well.
For The Local Live, this is Alina Suriel signing off.
Well, that's our show for this week. Hope your Valentine's Day was happy. Stay friendly, Mamaroneck, and stay classy, Larchmont.
And everyone, stay warm. See you next week.
Bye-bye for now.
Bye.
Tell us what you think. In person, over the phone, online. Watch and hear yourself on TV. You tell us, we air it. This is The Local Live.